I'm going to paraphrase rather than read this. It'll make better sense, you'll see. My closest friend out east when I worked on Shelter Island was a pastor from New York City who also had a home on the island. His name was Forest Church, and he was the senior pastor at All Souls Unitarian Church. And he wrote me in at one point to become their artist in residence and storyteller. So I got to know him well and got to know the church well and had a great deal of joy in the experience. He called me one Sunday afternoon and he said, I think it's a soak in silence Sunday. And that meant he wanted me to come over and we would sit out on his back porch, this porch overlooking the water, and just listen to the silence and soak in the sun. We also soaked in a little bit of scotch, but, it was also a time where, but it was really, the quietude was wonderful. It really was. Well, he called me for that, and I said, I'll be over, and he said, let me read you something first. I need to talk to you about it when you get here. So he read me a note. He said, this was in my collection plate today. And in the note was a note that I can paraphrase for you that just said, have you ever felt totally alone? Have you ever felt I'm empty? Have you ever felt like nobody cared and neither did you? Have you ever felt like there was nothing to look forward to and you could care less? I think I'm lost and I don't know what I'm asking. And it was not signed. Now, of course, I knew the congregation somewhat. And he said, who do you think that might be? And I said, every person in the congregation. And he said, what? And I said, Forrest, anybody could have written that at any time. So I shared that with you to remind you that, folks, it's the will of God for human beings to be human. And we spend a lifetime trying to be anything but. But some days, we have those feelings of being lost, alone, lonely.
Reading from the Gospel according to Matthew. Then Jesus prayed, Abba God, creator of heaven and earth, to you I offer praise. For what you have hidden from the learned and the clever, you have revealed to the youngest children. Yes, Abba, everything is as you want it to be. Jesus continued, everything has been handed over to me by Abba God. No one knows the only begotten except Abba God, and no one knows Abba God except the only begotten, and those to whom the only begotten wants to give that revelation. Come to me, all you who labor and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon your shoulders and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble of heart. Here you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light.
Peace and grace to each and every one of you. And I am most sincere when I say it is truly wonderful to be back. I want to share with you 3 revelations that I've had in, now don't get nervous, okay? They're little revelations, okay? They're not burning bush revelations. But I had these 3 revelations, and revelations are like deaths in the winter. You notice how death in the winter comes in 3s? Although I have a feeling that that's just simply because one we notice, the second one we're more aware of, and then we kind of go back to not paying attention. But revelations are like that as well. It's almost when God wants our attention, he's kind of hitting us on the shoulder and saying, pay attention, take notice, Don't miss this. Well, when I was in seminary, I remember very clearly that I was listening to the two New Testament teachers, Johann Christian Becker and Bill Murdoch, talking about Epiphany. And the class was eagerly sitting, taking this all in, and then they talked about Revelation. And I remember walking out afterwards, and my late wife, Christine Beth Ranny, was there, and she looked at me and she said, "Did you understand any of that?" And I said, "No." She said, "It was like seeing a Scorsese movie." And I said, "I know, I didn't get it." And she goes, she said, there's just a lot of these concepts, that are spiritual, that trying to explain them or make sense of them is like trying to bite your own teeth. And I thought, that's true. But these were three revelations that I had, or epiphanies. I don't know what that is. I just know it when I have one. Because it's suddenly, it's like the cartoon character that has the light bulb go on over his head, or somehow the curtain raises and you go, "Oh, well, now I get it." Okay? Well, the first one was about our culture. I don't drive freeways much. I mean, I will if I have to, and I mean have to. I really like wandering around. Okay, and I like wandering back roads, and the reason I like wandering back roads is because I find it relaxing, enjoyable, and I carry 3 cameras with me. I'm always taking pictures. This time I had to get there, so I was on the freeway, and all of a sudden I looked at the sign and went, "The speed limit's 75, and that's how long I haven't been on the freeway. And I said, I thought, what happened remember when we were all told about 55? How we were going to save lives and save people from being maimed and save gas and save the planet? And I thought, well, what's next? They're going to put up a sign saying, "Drive at your own risk." They should have put another sign below it saying, "Who cares?" Just, go. Because I did. It was a revelation of just saying, doesn't that say something about us? Because what got us to 55 hasn't changed at all. How do we come to a point where we just don't seem to care as much? That life just isn't as precious. And when did it become the fact that speed was one of the most important properties of being alive? To go faster. Now the second revelation had a lot to do with the sermon title today, and also what I told you about in terms of what I experienced with Forest Church, that message. I got recommended a book, okay? And the book was Where the Crawdads Sing, okay? So I picked this book up thinking, because the person who recommended it has recommended other books for me. And I thought, okay, I'm going to get it. So I started reading the book. I could not put it down. That's happened to me a few times in life. I remember reading To Kill a Mockingbird. I remember reading Ann Tyler's Dinner at the Homesick Restaurant. Carson McCullers, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. Breathtaking, beautiful, beautiful writing, Well, I got myself up on a Sunday night at 4 a.m. and read till noon so I could finish it. And at the end of it, I just sat there with this book on my lap in my lazy boy, and I grinned and I just said, "Oh, this is what I need. This is what I want to feel. I want to be so excited to know what's going to happen next. I want to be enthused about turning the page and turning the chapter. And so much of the world that we live in today is like, I just kind of go, oh, I don't even want to know what's next. It couldn't get it's ugly. And I'm sorry, folks, but I I don't think of this politically right now. I really don't. I think this is deeply, deeply spiritual. I really do. And I'm just so tired of the nastiness and the mean-spiritedness and the, just the division and the yelling. You read the newspaper and at the end you just kind of go, what on earth? And that's what I did. I thought to myself, well, what can I do? Because, in a way, that book just said to me, if this is what you want, you got to go out and get it. You got to do something about it. You can't throw your hands up in the air and say, I can't do anything. So, for the last couple of months, I share with you that I've been chasing beauty. That's my motto, okay? You can borrow it if you like. I like it. Chasing beauty. And I do. I chase beauty. I look for good music. I look for good books. I love reading a good poem. I go out and try to take a photo. I used to wake up every morning and read the newspaper. I don't do that. Okay? Now I really try to write something, and I paint. And the thing that I love about painting is that when you paint, well, you probably have something that you do where this happens. Maybe I'll ask you the question, what are you doing when you lose track of time? When you lose track of time, what are you usually doing?
Reading.
Reading? Yeah. Reading?
Walking outside.
What?
Walking outside.
Walking outside. The thing that's beautiful about losing track of time is whenever you lose track of time, you've entered heaven. Folks, heaven is not endless time. Heaven is the absence of time. And when you lose track of it, it's heavenly. So I've been really working hard on that. Okay, so that's revelation number 2. That in a world that oftentimes seems ugly and nasty, and sometimes I feel like we're at war with greed and we're losing, Then this was the third one. And this one relates directly to being here, being with all of you. It'll take a while for me to get there, but as you now come to know that when I preach, it takes me a while to get anywhere. But that's just me, okay? I'm working on it, honestly. I've never worked before, but we'll keep trying, okay? So, I thought about, why do I like coming here? What is it? And it made me think back to a woman in my old congregation at Shelter Island Presbyterian Church named Elsie Reinertson. Elsie was 76. She was the clerk of session, okay? She was, which is sort of like the boss, okay? And she was the waitress at Carol's Luncheonette. And when Elsie came by with a wet cloth and started to mop up, that meant you were supposed to leave. She was just gonna go, woo, woo, woo. I loved Elsie, but Elsie was an acquired taste, okay? Elsie always spoke her mind, and, well, she had what they call an acerbic wit, okay? I'll give you an example. At 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock, in Carol's Luncheonette, they serve sticky buns, old-fashioned, sticky buns, okay? And the locals come in to fend off the New Yorkers, and they get in, right on time. So I'm in there, and I'm sitting at the counter, and next to me is this guy reading the New York Times, and he's going, oh, look at it, to his wife, like she's in Dubuque. He's talking to her. He goes, oh, look at this. There's an article in here about a guy who has flesh-eating bacteria. Elsie looks at me and goes, you might want to track that guy down and see if you can catch it. Okay, that's Elsie. Okay? Just a cute woman, She also, at a session meeting, Della Van Dyke, who taught the kindergarten class on Shelter Island, announced that she was having a lumpectomy. And if the truth be known, Della was well known for being well endowed. And I'll never forget the look on Della's face when Elsie looked at her and said, well, this could be a blessing in disguise, Della. And Della was looking really angry and then just broke out laughing. That was Elsie. And one morning, I went in for my sticky bun and coffee, and the place was jammed. And the place was jammed, and I knew why, because I had heard the weather report, and we were expecting a nor'easter. Nor'easters are hurricanes in the winter. Okay, is what they are. A lot of snow, sometimes rain, sometimes sleet, sometimes hail, a lot of wind, dangerous. Okay, really dangerous time. So everybody was out before the storm was supposed to come in at noon, and by supper time it was supposed to be thicker than thieves. So I came in and I sat down. There was Bill Zastro and Joe Trenadue and Herb Schwenson, three buddies together, and the Widow Quartet, which sat next to me. Honestly, that's what they called themselves, the Widow Quartet. And we took up the whole thing, the whole counter. And we're all sitting there having our sticky buns, and there's one seat left. And you'll love this, because this can only happen in a small town, and that Father Trainer came in from Our Lady of the Isle, the Catholic Church. And the night before, he had a midweek Lenten service, but had gone before the midweek Lenten service, had gone to the chili fire department bake-off and eaten the Thunderbird chili. And reports from the midweek Lenten service were that many Catholics gathered outside wondering whether they had changed brands of incense. It was not pretty. And so poor Trainer walks in, okay, and you know what's going to happen. Hey, Father Trainer, I heard you had quite a crowd last night until well, I heard about the incense, and there were people telling you that they loved your dress, but that your purse was on fire. The good thing about Father Trainer was he just laughed. We lose our sense of humor somehow. We really do, and we just need to be able to just laugh sometimes. When you die laughing, you don't die, but your worries and fears die. I asked, where's Elsie? Oh, she cleared out. She, takes her the whole day to prepare for a nor'easter. And Bill Safter goes, well, I know what it takes time to do. You know what she's going to do. She's going to see if we pass the test. I said, huh? She gives us a test every nor'easter. And I go, I don't follow. He said, I'll call you. I'll call you later today. You can come with. You can take the test too. So about 4:30, sure enough, Bill Zastra rings me up, and I look at him and listen to him. I said, and he said, are you going to come? I said, yeah, sure. So I get in my car, and I said, what's the test? He goes, well, every time there's a nor'easter, Elsie takes out her orange bug. She had a Volkswagen Bug. She had also a huge daisy in a jar in that thing. And then when you would ask her, what's that for? She goes, oh, that's to remind me that every day I'm living, I'm also dying. Coming up, Daisy. So I said, okay. So she goes out in her car. And then he said, well, and then she goes to the IG parking lot and she does wheelies. I said, she's 76. And they go, I know, but she likes doing wheelies. She likes to spin. So she spins. And then she goes out and gets herself hopelessly lost until we come and find her. And that's the test, whether we'll come to find her. And I said, she doesn't do that on purpose. They go, oh, yes, she does. Have you ever found somebody who who was lost, who also has a thermos of hot coffee and a thermos of hot soup and all of her favorite magazines and crackers with cheese. I said, no, come on. So we go into Masonic, which is the nature preserve, and we start driving down these back roads, and I'm saying, she's not going to be in here. She's not stupid enough to go in here. Doing this. All of a sudden I see the orange button. Okay. I go, what on earth? She's in snow up to the... They go, we know. We brought shovels. We'll have to dig her up. When she goes in, she goes in. So I opened the door for her after we dug her out. She's smiling. She's smiling. She goes, well, this is a treat. The Rev showed up. It's about time you did some real work. You haven't had a callus on your hands in a lifetime. Okay. She immediately says to Bill Zastro, she goes, you know, I probably should go over by you for dinner. He goes, I know. I already told Lucy to put on an extra plate. And yes, you can stay over, and yes, in the morning I'll make you coffee, and then I'll go get your car towed. Do we pass the test? She goes like this. Yep, you got an A. She said, but whenever I give a test, you have an A just by showing up. You know, one of the things that I love about here is that I get the same feeling about here as I do about that counter at Carol's Luncheonette. I loved that counter at Carol's Luncheonette. I loved Carol's Luncheonette. And I loved all those locals. I loved them. And I loved them because they were ordinary people who were extraordinary. And when I look at this church community, this family, this spiritual gathering, one of the things that I think about so clearly is that you know that if you got lost, somebody would come looking. And you also know, and now that since she's in Albuquerque, I can do it because she can't get angry. You have a pastor who adores you. Absolutely, flat out adores you. Now I'm telling you something. I've been a minister for 44 years. I've gone to a lot of clergy luncheons, you know, and I've listened, you know. It's like watching paint dry, but I've listened to clergy talk, okay? And I will tell you one thing that you don't hear often from clergy is them talking about adoring their church family. Not the case with Kay. Not the case at all. They're just such a wonderful group. Just such a wonderful group of folks. Do you realize that maybe a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, how many people thought this would last? Okay? What a gift. To have a place where you know they will pass the test, they will show up, they will get an A because they know you need to get found when you're hurting. That's exactly what Jesus was saying when he said, come unto me, ye who labor and are heavy laden, I will give you rest. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Do you know what that yoke is? The yoke is the grace of God. You are unconditionally loved and unconditionally forgiven. And you know what the burden is? The burden is you're enough already. You can start the day every day by knowing that you're enough. And one of the beauties, I think, of these revelations for me was the first one that said, you know, life has got to be more precious than let's go to 95. And it has to be even better than a book that made me want to turn the pages and see what happened. I want to feel that about my own life. But I also needed to remember I need a place that I trust will find me, and so do you. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's time to give